Ancient DNA reveals the true origins of the first Americans. Shocking discovery. What if everything learned about the first Americans arriving in a single wave, crossing a simple land bridge, and spreading out across the continents, is only part of the story? For decades, that version felt complete, almost too clean to question. But ancient DNA has started to reveal something far more complex, something that feels less like a straight line and more like a web of journeys, pauses, and unexpected connections. The deeper scientists look, the more it feels like the first chapter of human history in the Americas is still being rewritten in real time. The discovery that changed the narrative. For a long time, the dominant explanation centered around the Bering Land Bridge, a stretch of land that once connected Asia and North America during the last ice age. It seemed logical, even obvious, that early humans simply walked across and continued south. But ancient DNA studies have complicated that picture in ways no one expected. Instead of a single migration, evidence now suggests multiple waves, pauses, and even periods of isolation that shaped early populations. Genetic data extracted from ancient remains began to show variations that could not be explained by one straightforward movement. This forced researchers to rethink not just when people arrived, but how long they stayed in certain regions before moving on. The mystery of Beringia and the standstill. There is a theory that adds an entirely new layer to this story, often referred to as the Beringian standstill. And instead of crossing quickly into the Americas, some early populations may have remained in Beringia for thousands of years, isolated by massive ice sheets blocking their path south. During this time, their genetic identity began to diverge from their Asian ancestors, creating a distinct population before they ever set foot deeper into the Americas. This idea explains why certain genetic markers appear unique to indigenous peoples of the Americas. It also raises questions about what life looked like in that frozen region, how people adapted, and what eventually pushed them to move forward. Ancient DNA and the child who changed everything. One of the most significant discoveries came from the remains of a young girl found in Alaska, known as the Anzac one. Her DNA provided a crucial link between ancient populations and modern indigenous groups across the Americas. What made this discovery so important was how it connected different regions through shared ancestry, suggesting that early populations spread rapidly once they moved south of the ice sheets. The genetic evidence showed clear relationships between people separated by vast distances, reinforcing the idea that migration was not slow and isolated, but expansive and interconnected. It also helped confirm that the roots of many indigenous communities can be traced back to these early populations, adding clarity to a story that had long been uncertain. A coastal route hidden beneath the ocean. While the land bridge theory dominated for years, another possibility has gained attention through both archaeology and genetic research: the idea of a coastal migration route. Early humans may have traveled along the Pacific coastline, using boats or simple watercraft to move south, while relying on marine resources for survival. The challenge with this theory is that much of the ancient coastline is now underwater due to rising sea levels, making direct evidence difficult to find. However, genetic patterns and scattered archaeological sites support the possibility that this route played a significant role. It suggests that the first Americans were not just land travelers, but also skilled at navigating coastal environments, adapting to conditions in ways that are only now being fully appreciated. Unexpected links to ancient Siberia. Ancient DNA has also revealed surprising connections between early Americans and populations in Siberia, or particularly those associated with the ancient North Eurasians. These genetic links show that the ancestors of the first Americans were not solely East Asian, but part of a more complex mixture of populations. This blending of ancestries adds depth to the story, showing that migration into the Americas was not just about movement across space, but also about interactions between different groups long before that journey began. It challenges the idea of a single origin and instead points to a network of connections that shaped early human populations over time. The split between northern and southern groups. As ancient DNA research expanded, scientists began to notice a division between early populations in North and South America. Genetic evidence suggests that after entering the continents, populations split into distinct groups that followed different migration paths. This divergence happened relatively quickly, indicating that movement across the Americas occurred at a remarkable pace. It also explains why certain genetic markers are more common in specific regions, reflecting the paths these early groups took. The idea that people spread so rapidly across two continents, adapting to completely different environments, highlights a level of resilience and adaptability that is easy to underestimate. Clovis culture and the debate it sparked. For many years, the Clovis culture was considered the earliest evidence of human presence in the Americas. Characterized by distinctive stone tools, it became a cornerstone of archaeological understanding. However, ancient DNA and new discoveries have complicated this view, suggesting that people were present even earlier. Sites predating Clovis challenge the idea that it represents the first wave of migration, instead pointing to a more layered history. This does not diminish the importance of Clovis culture, but it places it within a broader timeline that continues to expand as new evidence emerges. The role of ice sheets in shaping migration. Massive ice sheets once covered large parts of North America, acting as both barriers and pathways for early humans. Their movement and eventual retreat played a crucial role in determining when and where people could travel. As the ice receded, new routes opened, allowing populations to move further south and east. Ancient DNA helps track these movements by showing how populations expanded and diversified over time. Or it reveals that migration was closely tied to environmental changes, making it a story not just about people, but about the planet itself and how its shifting conditions influenced human history. What this means for understanding human history. The discoveries coming from ancient DNA research are not just about filling gaps in a timeline. They are about reshaping the way human history is understood. The story of the first Americans is no longer a simple narrative with a clear beginning and end. It is a complex process involving multiple migrations, periods of isolation, and interactions between diverse groups. This complexity makes the story more realistic, reflecting the unpredictability of human movement and adaptation. It also highlights how much remains unknown, reminding us that even well-established theories can change with new evidence. The ongoing search for answers. What makes this topic so compelling is that it is far from finished. New discoveries continue to emerge, each adding another piece to the puzzle while also raising new questions. Advances in DNA technology are allowing scientists to analyze older and more fragile samples, expanding the range of what can be studied. Every new finding has the potential to refine or even challenge current understanding, keeping the story in constant motion. It creates a sense that history is not fixed, but something that evolves as new information comes to light. If this changed the way early human history is viewed, there is always more waiting to be uncovered. Like, subscribe, and share to keep exploring stories that challenge what we think we know.